Hello, and welcome to Jump Out of Fear and Into Faith. I'm one unique writer, author, motivational writer, and blogger of oneuniquewriter.com. I will be sharing my personal information, experiences, and perspectives with you in hopes of encouraging and motivating you to overcome barricades and hurdles that I've personally had to jump myself. I've been an entrepreneur while maintaining a full-time job and being a single mother for many years, all while still achieving a master's degree, relocating to another state, becoming an author, owning several businesses throughout the years, and guess what? I did it all alone. Yes, that is right. And so by me doing it all alone, I'm sure you can imagine how I had to encourage myself. And sometimes the unknowing part was very scary, but I would still jump from one place to another anyway. Having to wear many hats has had very exhausting times, even times of depression, when I would think about how I'd be having to fight alone for so long. Just the thought of it caused it to be even more draining. And so I'm sure that some of you can relate on some sort of level. I know someone other than me has been weary, fearful, and had to fight through many trials alone while also being misunderstood. Many times we tend to feel like we are the only one who knows how we feel and what we're going through, but that is not true at all. And of course, that is something that I would realize now that it's behind me in hindsight for the most part. However, there's another reason I choose to be open and let you into my world. I want you to know that you are not alone when it comes to this game of fear, and I completely understand. I've ran many races and jumped many hurdles alone, in addition to what I've already mentioned. I know that running alone is tiresome, so if you can have at least one teammate, cheerleader, or coach, why wouldn't you? So you might as well let it be me. Again, I understand what it's like to face hurdles alone, and I know it's not a good feeling, so I am here with you to let you know you are not alone. You're about to see that I understand how it feels to be alone and fearful. With that being said, it is beyond me to fathom how a person can take you somewhere they have never been. Me personally, I can't listen to someone trying to tell me how to get somewhere that they've never been, and neither should you. I've already been where you are, and the thing about it, though, is that we never get, even when we overcome fear about one thing, it doesn't mean that we are just ready to face fear on every level, every time something else attacks us that makes us uncomfortable. So that's the thing about it. It actually is a cycle that repeats itself. But once you get used to really, really, really facing some tremendous fears that you have, you'll at least be more likely to fight and combat more fear as it arises and more moments of discomfort. And it'll cause you to have more faith and confidence in yourself. So I've already been where you are, and I've probably been a few places that you want to go as well. So just follow me along through this course so I can show you how to walk through where you're at and get to the other side of your fear. But I have to warn you, you're going to have to do some things that you are not comfortable with. Nevertheless, if you are ready for something different, by all means, you have to jump without a safety net, or at least without the awareness of a safety net. But let me tell you this too. Just because you aren't aware of a safety net, it doesn't mean that one doesn't exist. If you believe in God, you have to trust him to be your safety net. When you don't, that's one of the times when you are most likely to experience blockages to your faith and experience things that keep you from moving forward in life and that just cause and prolong fear. There's many different reasons that people have fear. So we'll go ahead and start there. And I want you to go ahead and start thinking about this thing that you are afraid of and ask yourself, why are you so afraid? And this would be a good place to start taking notes as well. Question number 1, why are you so afraid? Do you not have any faith? Do you not think that if you jump, or let me ask it this way, do you think if you jump that God isn't going to catch you? Or are you afraid of where you'll land or if you'll land? Are you afraid because you don't know for sure if you'll land or be caught? There are many different reasons that we experience fear, and it also depends on the situation that is occurring, because you may be courageous in one particular area, and then when it comes to something else, you clearly you just aren't that courageous. And then there may be 2 situations and you are afraid when it comes to both situations. But with one, the reason for your fear may be one thing, and with the other situation, the reason for your fear may be totally different. Fear of failure being one of those things. You may be afraid that, let's say, for instance, that you've been married before and you've unfortunately got a divorce. You could be, when it comes to relationships, your fear with relationships could be that you are afraid of experiencing another failing marriage. And you could also have the experience where you want to start a business, but for some reason you are afraid of success and growth, or you may even be afraid of not succeeding. Some people also have the fear of trying new things, the fear of the unknown and not knowing. It can scare people. There may be a fear of being alone, which is why many different people experience toxic relationships, because they have a fear of being alone. So they would rather be with anybody rather than to just be alone. Some people actually experience fear regarding certain situations, like when it comes to, let's say there's a job position that you want to interview for. Some people may have fear in areas regarding business because of a lack of confidence. You may have a hard time believing in yourself, or a lack of self-esteem. You may not really feel worthy of it. And those are actually things that can also cause you to have a fear when it comes to relationships. You may not feel worthy of the person that you are dating or interested in. So there's also a fear of history repeating itself. Like I was saying before with the example about, let's say you're a person who has gone through a divorce and you are afraid to experience another failing marriage. You may be afraid of history repeating itself. If you've had bad experiences in relationships, you may be afraid that you'll get hurt again, or that you'll be rejected or abandoned. And the list goes on and on and on. And so the thing with fear is that, especially when we are talking about fear of history repeating itself, it can cause you to have a lack of hope and trust issues. Your history, though, so let's just dig in a little bit deeper when we discuss fear, because a lot of times, too, is We may have fear because we don't know, we don't have enough information. And so again, there's that fear of the unknown. But then there's also fear based on our history. We may be afraid of history repeating itself. And in that case, you're basically giving your history permission to block your future, but your history is not indicative of your future. It's not indicative of your future. And so other reasons that also, just to go through it just a little bit more, some people have a fear of people. They are afraid of what people will think, how people will feel or perceive them. And that comes along with being too much of a people pleaser. Some people fear a loss of relationships, but any relationship that is lost can be replaced with better. In fact, I heard Bishop R.C. Blake say his perception on relationship changes is that any relationship that leaves is to protect you, and any relationship that comes is to bless you. Even if people come to bless, we must also always keep an open mind and realize that people come into our lives for reasons and possibly just seasons. Just because a person blessed you at one point doesn't mean they always will. We can't perpetuate unhealthy relationships and keep people in our lives because of how good the affiliation used to be. When the change occurs, you need to adapt, and you just have to keep moving on. That's another reason that we tend to get stuck in these phases of fear, because we keep reliving that same moment, and it's as if it has us trapped into a time warp zone. But fear is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. It's just an acronym for false evidence appearing real. I'm sure you've heard that many times. What appears real is what you believe. And so you must decide, what do you believe? Because if you believe something enough, it will feel real, even if it is not real. I've had a moment when, like in a romantic relationship, and I just really thought that the dude was cheating on me. And because I just really, I just felt like I just know it's happening, then it seemed like everything that I was seeing was confirming it. But to make a long story short, it turns out he really wasn't. But because I was so intent on believing it, I really started feeling it. And then I saw what I wanted to see. So again, even if something feels real, we can cause things to be so real in our minds, and it'll start to feel very real to us. But just because it feels real, it doesn't mean that it necessarily is real. So that's just a quick example of how my fear has just sort of pushed me into unhealthy behaviors, because we tend to act out, again, depending on the situation and the reason for the fear. We will act out based on those fears. However, I will say this too. Even it doesn't matter how many times fear has pushed me over the edge, so to speak, I've never actually hit rock bottom. I've never completely hit rock bottom. So we have to get a grip on it, because there's always hope. And we have to be able to decipher truth from reality, or reality from truth. I'll say it that way. And so here's what I'll say to you to wrap up the intro to this course. If you are not living your dreams, accomplishing your goals, experiencing the love of your life, experiencing success, if you aren't really happy and able to move forward, then either you're not motivated to do what needs to be done to achieve those things, or you're scared, or maybe it's not God's timing for you to achieve either of those things, either of the above, or whatever it is that may be on your list. But it's one thing if it's not God's timing yet for you to experience something. But then it's a whole other thing if the reason that you are lacking something is because you are in your own way. And if the latter is the reason for your stagnancy, it is past time to move towards those things that you truly desire, so they'll draw in and move closer to you. The closer you can get to them when you move past your fears, the closer they will be getting to you. So it is time to jump out of fear and into faith. Again, welcome to my course, and let's head forward so we can meet at step 1 and begin.